Hello everyone, welcome to Knowledge Curry. We make videos focused on personal growth backed by science and philosophy. Today's video is one in a series of 3 videos where we will unravel some of the most pertinent trends which are happening in the field of science and technology and which have a direct influence in our everyday life. These trends are extremely important to know because if you're talking to somebody who is young and if you have to advise them on what kind of career path that they can take up at this moment of time, knowing these trends will be extremely crucial because these are literally the tipping point of our society today. And if we are aware of them, we'll be able to know where to apply our knowledge and skills so that we can get the maximum returns on the time invested in these skills. If you are new to our channel, please subscribe so that you don't miss on our future videos. So with this, let's get started. So there is a fascinating trend in our history where there are pockets of time where some of the most extraordinary changes happen in a very short span of time. So for example, 6th century BC was one of those pivotal moments of human history. Some of the brightest minds in human history, people like Pythagoras, Socrates, Lord Buddha, Mahavira and Confucius existed in this period of history. These bright minds basically discovered the inner workings of the human brain, the ability to think critically, and that went on to change the course of human history. Another such moment in human history has been the 15th century in Europe, which today we call as the Renaissance. This period again saw the birth of many giants like Galileo, Leonardo da Vinci, Magellan, Copernicus, and their discoveries about the fundamental of human nature, about the fundamentals of the way the nature works, their influence in art and sciences led to a huge impact in the society as we know it. Now the most fascinating thing, and this is what the topic of the video is, that right now the human civilization is undergoing a very similar kind of a time span where we are seeing the birth and the growth of fundamentally society altering technologies and sciences. Now if we were to categorize the major disruptions which are happening, these are primarily in 3 basic fields. One is the field of computer sciences, second is the field of biology or biotechnology, and the third is in the field of material sciences, or we can also say in the field of engineering. In today's video, we will particularly take a deep dive in all the major disruptions which are happening in the field of the computer sciences and their implication on real-world scenarios. Now, in the field of computer technology, we will take up 5 major technological trends which are changing the entire landscape of computing as we know it. The first one is quantum computing. Now, when we hear about quantum computers, the first perception that comes to mind is it's a development or an improvement over the classical computers, whereas the reality is that it's a completely different sort of technology. Whereas the classical computer was largely based on the technology of semiconductors, and most of the computation happened in a classical computer based on the principle of binary, that is 0 and 1. In a quantum computer, the complete technology is based on the quantum state of matter, which is not limited to 0 and 1, but in fact has a whole spectrum of states between 0 and 1, which gives it an infinitely more number of combinations whereas it can do calculations. In simple terms, what it means is in a quantum computer, the number of calculations that can be done in a limited amount of time is exponentially much higher than a classical computer. So it can be easily applied to cases where complex calculations are required. So the thing to keep in mind when it comes to quantum computers is that it will not really affect the computation power of day-to-day machines which we use in our daily life, but it will make a significant breakthrough in situations where huge data sets are concerned. For example, in space flights, or in the discovery of new drug molecules, or in detecting frauds in financial transactions or securing financial transactions. In fact, companies like Google and IBM have already built quantum computers, and some of the practical applications where these computers are being used are, for example, Volkswagen is using quantum computers of the IBM make to design autonomous vehicles, whereas the quantum computer in Google is being used by PayPal to come up with more secure models of financial transactions which can save us from financial frauds. So another way to think of quantum computers is that today whatever it is that we are not being able to do, so for example, we still have a lot of cases of financial frauds across the world. Going to space still remains a limitation. These limitations or these problems will be addressed very effectively by quantum computers in a few years to come. The second interesting development in the field of computer sciences is that of augmented reality or AR. As the name itself says, this technology is all about enhancing and augmenting the quality of reality that we see around us. and it's largely involved with a merging of virtual objects with real world objects. So an example could be when you're looking at a street on a Google map. Today, the virtual map simply tells you the direction through which you can go. With the addition of an augmented reality layer, probably through some sort of a glasses, what will happen is, as we'll be walking a physical street, we'll get an added layer of information. So for example, if we are navigating to a particular street, we'll get cues of which way to take to easily and effectively reach our destination. As we are browsing through, let's say, our shelf in our store, we'll be able to get all the information of the product. And this technology of augmented reality is also going to have a huge impact on number of other everyday activities that we do. So the possibilities of augmented reality is just limited to our own imagination. What we can predict is the rise of numerous companies which will take up the application of augmented realities in different phases of life. So for example, education is one field which will be largely impacted by augmented reality. A new way of learning, a new way of interacting with the environment and interacting with different learning materials will come up, because whatever has been limited to inside the screen can now come out of the screen and interact with the students, making the entire process of discovery and entire process of learning new things much more easier. Now, most of the development in the field of AR has largely been in a nascent state today, and we have not really seen these technologies reach a stage of maturity. But based on the kind of progress that this technology has been making in the past few years, it's natural to predict that the amount of application of this technology is only going to boomerang in times to come, which also means that the need for professionals like UI UX designers, coders and content creators who can contribute to the requirements to spread this technology will only increase. The third technology which promises to have a deep impact in our daily life is virtual reality, or VR, or as it is being today referred to as the metaverse. While this technology has been slowly developing since the last 2 decades and still has not reached a stage where it can be called an absolute mainstream technology, but if we just look at the development which has taken place in the last 2 decades, we know that it has come a far way. Now, virtual reality can be defined as an artificially created environment which mimics the reality in such a deep way that we find it very difficult to distinguish between the actual and the virtual reality. Now, this can be called as the eventual ambition of engineers who are creating virtual reality technology, and we have not reached there. But based on historical data and the development we have seen in the field of graphic design, we can easily predict that it's only going to get closer and closer to actual reality. Now, some of the most powerful applications of virtual reality we have seen so far is been in the field of simulated trainings, and going into the future, it's very likely that many more such trainings will happen in a simulated environment. Apart from this, education again is that area of life which will bear the most powerful impact because of virtual reality. With virtual reality devices, students would have the facility to get to interact with abstract environments in physics and chemistry, which otherwise is not really possible. Virtual reality can also make us travel through time and space and witness previous cultures, which can again have a huge impact in the way that we are taught history and geography. Other core technical areas like architecture, engineering, product design are naturally going to be influenced by this technology. But one more area which will dramatically transform because of VR will be the field of entertainment. Both the way we watch movies and the way we play games will have huge changes because of the upcoming VR technology. Now, let's talk about the fourth technology in computer sciences which has already made a lot of waves in the past few years. We are talking about artificial intelligence, or AI. Now, AI is largely about creating human level intelligence in machines, and so far we have made quite a bit of progress in this particular field. Now, the basic principle behind artificial intelligence is what is called neural network. A neural network is essentially the way our own human brains are designed. So a human brain gets an input, processes the information and gives an output. In the same way, machines are made to mimic this behavior of the human brain. So the same algorithm which enables the brain to come up with decisions and output to different situations can also allow machines to come up with different kind of outputs. Now, we know that the human brain is the most complex and sophisticated piece of machinery known to man. So replicating the human brain in a machine setting is not going to be an easy job, but we have seen that we have come quite a distance when it comes to creating artificial intelligence and making it more and more sophisticated. So today you'll find that a lot of websites will have a virtual assistant which will guide you through the basic steps of interacting with that particular website, and we have applications like Siri and Alexa which helps us with the basic interaction with digital platforms. Now this will become more and more sophisticated as this technology advances. Some of the other applications which we again have seen in action is the kind of accuracy which we get to see now in translation softwares, the kind of accuracy which we see in photo editing tools, and one technology which is definitely worth checking out is the latest version of the work being done by OpenAI team. It's called DALL-E, and it basically involves you sending out simple text-based instruction for it to come out with actual images of what the instruction is all about. So artificial intelligence as a technology is here to stay and is going to get more and more complex. So it becomes a basic responsibility for us to now focus on areas of endeavor where we require creativity and where we require assimilation of different kinds of knowledge, because that is an area which AI will still not be able to cover. So a direct implication of all this advancement in the last few years in the field of artificial intelligence is that any job which can be made into an algorithm or which can be automated will be automated. So we will have to focus on building those skills which is very difficult for a computer to replicate. Skills like assimilating different sorts of knowledge together, skills like creativity and artistic endeavor. And if you want to stay relevant in the job market, these are the skills which you should inculcate. And now we move to the fifth transformative technology in the field of computer sciences, which is blockchain technology. Now, blockchain technology was a major breakthrough which came about because of the legendary white paper by Satoshi Nakamoto published in 2009. And since then, it has completely transformed the way that we think about online transactions. In fact, blockchain technology is all about creating a kind of online transaction where a third-party verification is not required. And it is the major problem which blockchain solves, that now we have a system of transaction between two people which can be done in a permissionless way, which means that it can be done without the involvement of any third party. And this is what a blockchain is all about. It essentially solves the problem of trust in a transaction, and with blockchain technology in place, now we can see the birth of an entire new industry altogether, where people can come together, do all sorts of transaction without fearing or without worrying about the need to build a trust mechanism around it as well. So naturally, blockchain has led to the birth of a new industry today, which we are calling as Web3. This entire phenomena of Web3, decentralized finance, non-fungible tokens or NFTs, of all the technologies that we have discussed so far in this video, blockchain is the newest one and also the most nascent, and therefore we see that there is a lot of speculation around what will be the actual implication of blockchain in modern society. But what we can already see is that blockchain is literally transforming every industry which it has touched so far. So the requirement of professionals who can contribute to blockchain, whether in the form of a blockchain developer or as community managers who will be building different kinds of Web3 companies, is higher than it ever existed. So with this, we come to an end of today's video. In the next two videos in this series, we will take up biotechnology and material sciences, which are again causing major disruptions in the society. So we will see you soon in the next video. Till then, stay happy and stay curious.